Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today on episode 3 of Board with Burn. In this episode, I'm very excited to teach you how to play Takenoko. This is a super cute, colorful, family-friendly game for 2 to 4 players where players are members of the Japanese imperial court. They'll have to grow bamboo shoots and cultivate the emperor's bamboo garden, all while taking care of a giant panda bear. As a little backstory to the game, the panda was gifted by the Chinese emperor to celebrate an alliance between Japan and China. The players will have to carefully grow their bamboo shoots, all while making sure the panda is happy and well fed. Players will score points by completing objective cards, and the player with the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Let's learn how to play Takenoko. Part 1, setting up the game. Start by placing the pawn tile in the center of the table. Then place the gardener and panda figurines on this plot. Mix the remaining land plot tiles and place them face down to form a draw pile. Set aside the blue irrigation channel pieces, as well as the 3 types of improvement chips. Set the green emperor card to the side. Sort the remaining cards by color and shuffle them to form 3 draw piles face down. Each player receives an individual board, 2 action chips, and 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 purple card, keeping their cards hidden from the rest of the players. The tallest player will start the game. Part 2, playing the game. Players will take turns completing these 2 steps in order. For the first step, players will determine weather conditions by rolling the weather die and applying its effects. Each face of the die results in a specific weather effect, illustrated here on the player board. Note that in the first round, the weather step is skipped, and players will proceed directly to step 2. Starting on their second turn, players will roll the weather die before performing actions. If a player rolls the sun symbol, it allows them to perform an additional action on their turn, which must be different from their 2 regular actions. There are 5 different actions a player can take on their turn, represented by these symbols on the player board. I'll be going over each action in more detail later on in this video. If a player rolls the rain symbol, it allows them to place 1 bamboo section on a single irrigated plot of their choice. The color of the bamboo section should match the color of the plot that it's added to. The wind symbol allows the player to take 2 identical actions in this round instead of 2 different actions. The storm symbol allows the player to move the panda to the plot of their choice, and if there's bamboo on the plot, the panda can eat 1 section for the player to collect. The panda must be moved to a different plot in order for it to eat a section of bamboo. The cloud symbol allows a player to choose one of the 3 types of improvement chips available in the reserve. These improvements will be discussed in more detail later on. Once a player chooses an improvement chip, they can place it immediately on a plot or store it on their board. If no improvement chip is available in the reserve, the player can apply the effect of another weather condition of their choice. If a player rolls the question mark symbol, it allows them to choose any weather condition to apply to their turn. Now that we've gone over the weather effects that happen in the first step of a turn, let's go over the second step. For the second step, players will complete 2 actions which must be different from one another unless the player has the wind climate in effect. There are 5 different actions a player can take, and players will place their chips on their player board to indicate which actions they're taking. Let's take a look at the different actions in more detail. The first type of action pictured on the board is the plots action. With this action, the player will draw 3 plots from the plot pile, choose 1 secretly, and place the other 2 back under the deck face down in the order of their choice. The plot can then be placed into the play area as long as it's either adjacent to the pawn tile, like in this example, or adjacent to 2 plots already in play, like in this example. Note that plots can only grow 1 bamboo shoot that matches its color, and it's recommended that the players take the plots action during their first turn in the game to begin growing the bamboo garden. The second type of action on the player board is the irrigation channel action. This allows the player to take 1 of the blue irrigation channels from the reserve. Bamboo can only start growing on plots that have been irrigated, and using these channels is one way to irrigate them. The channel can be put into play immediately or stored on the player's board to be used in the future. Any number of irrigation channels saved on a player's board can be placed in a future turn, and doing so will not use up one of the player's actions. When channels are put into play, they can be placed on the edge of two plots to form a network that always starts at one of the corners of the pond tile, like in this example. Channels can be extended as long as one end starts at the pond tile. Players cannot place channels along the edges of the pond tile. Again, plots can only start growing bamboo once they've been irrigated. Plots adjacent to the pond tile are automatically irrigated. A plot can also be irrigated if one of its 6 edges has an irrigation channel, or if the plot has a watershed improvement like the one circled here. Plots with this improvement mean that they already have a built-in water source to grow bamboo and do not need to be irrigated through the pond tile or channels. When a plot is irrigated for the first time, it always grows one bamboo section of the matching color. For example, adding an irrigation channel here would allow a single green bamboo section to be added to the plot, since this is the first time that plot is irrigated. If an irrigation channel happens to irrigate 2 plots simultaneously for the first time, a section of bamboo is added to each plot. Plots with the watershed improvement also automatically benefit from this first growth bonus. Now that we've gone over the watershed improvement, let's go over the other 2 types of improvements. Improvements can be built into a plot, meaning they're printed directly on the plot, or they can be added if a player has acquired an improvement chip from the reserve during a turn. As a reminder, this can happen when the cloud's weather condition is in effect. Any number of improvement chips in a player's reserve can be placed any time during a future turn, and doing so will not use up one of the player's actions. Improvements can only be added to empty plots without any bamboo sections, and each plot can only have one improvement on it, either built in or added by the player. The enclosure improvement protects bamboo on the plot, meaning a panda can't eat any bamboo from there. However, the panda is still allowed to move across or stop on a plot with this improvement. The fertilizer improvement increases the growth of the bamboo on the plot. Each time bamboo grows on a plot with this improvement, 2 sections are added instead of 1. A bamboo shoot can have a maximum of 4 sections, and no section can be added once a shoot has reached this size. The third type of action pictured on the board is the gardener action. This allows the player to move the gardener in a straight line any number of plots, including through the pond tile, in the direction of their choice. The gardener will grow a section of bamboo on the plot where he finishes his move, as well as on all directly adjacent plots of the same color, as long as they're irrigated. For example, moving the gardener in a straight line to end in this pink plot would allow for a bamboo section to be added on the plot, as well as on the other 2 adjacent pink plots that are irrigated. The gardener must move at least 1 space for this special ability to occur. The fourth action depicted on the player board is the panda action. This allows the player to move the panda in a straight line any number of plots, including through the pond tile, in the direction of their choice. The panda will eat a section of bamboo from the plot where it finishes its move, and the player can store the bamboo section on their board to help fulfill any panda objective cards. The panda can't jump over empty spaces between plots, and note that the panda and gardener are allowed to be on the same plot. For example, moving the panda in a straight line to end on this pink plot would allow the player to remove a bamboo section to add to their player board. The panda must move at least 1 space for this special ability to occur. The fifth and final action a player can take is the objective action, which allows them to draw an objective card of their choice to add to their hand. A player can have a maximum of 5 cards in their hand. If they already have 5 cards in their hand, they must complete at least 1 objective before drawing again. Let's look at the 3 categories of objective cards. Plots objectives have a blue back and will show a configuration of 3 or 4 adjacent plots.
To fulfill the objective and score the points indicated on the card, the configuration on the card must be reflected somewhere in the bamboo garden by irrigated plots. Gardener objectives have a red back and will allow players to score points with either a bamboo shoot of 4 sections on a plot with a specific improvement, a bamboo shoot of 4 sections without an improvement, or a group of several bamboo shoots of 3 sections with any improvements. This must be reflected somewhere in the bamboo garden to score the points indicated on the card. Panda objectives have a purple back and show either 2 or 3 bamboo sections. To fulfill the objective and score the indicated points, the player must have acquired the appropriate bamboo sections on their board, like in this example. To complete the objective, the sections are removed from the board and then placed back in the reserve. Completing objectives does not count as an action and can be done at any time during a player's turn. It's possible for a player to complete several objectives during the same turn.
Once the player has completed their turn, play will continue in clockwise order with the next player. Part 3, Game End and Final Scoring. The last round of the game is triggered depending on the number of players. With 2 players, the last round happens when a player completes their 9th objective. With 3 players, it's when a player completes their 8th objective. And with 4 players, it's when a player completes their 7th objective. The player who triggered the final round gains the special Green Emperor card worth 2 points and finishes their turn. They can complete other objectives during the turn in which the final round started. Then all other players have one final turn to attempt to complete objectives and improve their scores. Once all players have taken their final turn, they'll add up all the points from their completed objective cards. The player with the highest score is the winner. In the case of a tie, the player with the most points from their purple panda objective cards is the winner. Now you know how to play Takenoko. If you have any questions, please comment them below, and if you're enjoying these tutorials, feel free to like, subscribe, and check out the other videos on my channel. Thanks so much, and hope to catch you next time.